This week on the OneCast, we're going to recap the last two professional tournaments. Real quick, we're just going to talk about the winners, and then we have Mike Jones, just kidding, Mike Johns in the house to talk about FX3 Inc. and the work they're doing to save our Warriors.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. Huh? It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's going to be a bad day.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the OneCast, episode 82. Excited 82 weeks we've recorded these things. We have actually technically missed 1 week because the first time we dropped two episodes back to back because we didn't know what we were doing and had a schedule.
Well, I think that was intentional because we wanted to drop like 3 to 5 episodes the first time. So
that's true. Yeah. But flood regardless, it has been 82 weeks in a row we've dropped an episode. So we have missed one, and we're excited to not miss one again this week. We have our good friend Mike Johns here. He's traveling for the Toyota Series up on Champlain. Swung through North Carolina for a couple days. It's July 3rd, so he's going to hang out for the 4th with us tomorrow and then head to New York and jump in that tournament. So before we get rolling with him and talk about FX3, of course, as always, make sure you head over to OneCastFishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word, at checkout to save some change off of those snagless jigs, the long neck hooks, weedless neds, all the soft plastics that are in stock. I know there's some that are out again because I saw somebody questioning about it the other day on a Facebook post. So if you're looking for something, I know Ben's working on that. Then he'll get those in stock whenever he can. When you're done there, you can head to CarolinaWatersNC.com. That's CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast, again, all one word. Save 20% off your order. I'll get you some hats. They don't have this one in stock right now. I know somebody reached out to Chelsea wanting it the other day, and they went to use the code, and they didn't have it. So you got to get on quick when they come out, but they do have a bunch of other really good styles. They've got the UPF shirts. They've got a new style UPF shirt that I need to get one of here soon. They got the gloves, which are super nice. Trey and I have been wearing them a bunch here as it's getting hotter in the summer. You got to protect your skin.
I got tan lines on my fingertips.
Yeah, me too. They got the buffs, anything you would need for either on day on the water or casual night out, barbecue in the backyard, whatever it is. So make sure you head to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast. Grab you some of that gear. And then you got to protect your eyes. And we've been talking about how important good eyewear is in protecting your eyes. If you head to the link, Hobie Eyewear link below, or if you don't want to save money, I guess you can just go to HobieEyewear.com and grab you some of those floating frame lenses if you're looking for fishing glasses. If you're not, they got a bunch of different lifestyle choices, tons of lens colors. We've talked about the Sightmaster Plus and how key that was in some tournaments this year with low light conditions and things like that. So make sure you get over there and check them out. The floating frames are awesome. We've tested them just making videos, and we've tested them in real life when Trey flung a pair off his head down there in Lake Gaston. And then I tested in real life when I got ejected out of Mike Iaconelli's boat at 70 miles an hour in Lake Murray. And they floated. I got my glasses back. So make sure you check them out, grab you a pair, and let them know that we sent you by using that link in the description below.
Hobies don't even need their own PFDs as long as you get the floating frame. They're good to go. They save their own life. But, something else that will save your life is hopefully getting in not say bed, but like getting in a relationship with the right property broker, right? I don't want to say bed for a second. But our good buddy Eric Schwinn over at Mossy Oak Properties is serving the Sandhills region here in North Carolina. We're not doing videos, so I don't know why I keep looking up there.
It's just natural.
It's natural. But Eric will hook you guys up. So if you're in the market for a piece of property or for a residential or a residence on a piece of property, get outside that concrete jungle, all that stuff, hit our boy up, shoot him a message or give him a call at 936-494-9686, or you can email him at eschwind@mossyoakproperties.com. I'm sitting here holding the this upcoming week, and we're going to talk about it, but I'm sitting here holding one of the snagless flipping jigs right now that the hook point has been in, and this is a perfect opportunity. Real quick, Ben, you're getting ready to head to iCast, right?
Yeah. I plan on being down there at least for a couple of days down there on iCast. Going down there as the OneCast this time, not as the jig company. Mm-hmm. Just going down to check out all the new products, network, meet up a lot of folks because it is it's where everyone goes in the industry this time of year, and so it's a great event to just link up with people you haven't seen in a long time.
Absolutely,
and we'll definitely I know I'll be there next year.
Yeah.
soon.
gonna
Trey will.
Yeah, I mean,
Hopefully Ben can make it. We've got somebody
have-
wants to come down and run a camera for us next year, so we're gonna have hopefully a full deal going down there to bring you all some insight on that, because it is an industry event, so not just anybody can go, which is kind of nice. It's nice that, not that we don't love you all and we don't love talking to you, spending time, but it's nice to be able to network with folks in the industry. It helps us further grow relationships, meet new people, build new relationships, and catch up with old friends without, the general public, so to speak. Obviously we're here because of you, and I'm not saying anything bad about you, but it's nice to have those events where you can get a little break from that and catch up with folks in the industry to build those relationships.
Like the biggest business meeting.
That's basically what it is. It's just a big business meeting.
And we're going to bring him on here in just a second, but that's exactly how we met Mike Johns, right? So you talk about that networking, developing relationships. You never know where they're going to go. We're really, and we'll do an episode on it when Ben gets back from ICAST to talk about products and things like that. That's the cool thing about ICAST. Even though the general public can't attend, they do send out like the peaks on what's being promoted and stuff like that, new product lines and things like that, and then all the companies get real happy when those online orders start.
And we'll probably do the live again like we did. Ben will be down there. We'll bring him on. So we can go through the product releases like we did last year.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is that last year Chelsea did it for us, and we did a live for that. So we'll do a live, or I'll just come back and who knows? Maybe I can snag a couple things and bring back and show off on the pod.
You can't snag them with a snagless jig. No.
Sure.
But before we go grab Mike Johns, I just want to remind everybody our giveaway is coming to an end. We've got, when this comes out, you'll have 2 weeks essentially to get registered in that. So if you have not yet, make sure you head to our socials and screenshot us a DM of a review that you have left on whatever platform it is you listen on. If you've already entered, you're good. We've kept that running. If you entered the first month, you're good all the way through. If you have not yet, you can get done the last month. We have a Plano jig box full of jigs. Jam packed. There's probably $100 worth of jigs plus the box in there.
Oh, there's probably 40 to 50 jigs in there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of jigs in there. And then we have the Mike Johns is donating a custom jersey, which you'll get to do. You put the logos of your choice on there. The only ones that are mandatory are FX3 and our logo. Other than that, any sponsors or any companies you want to have on there that you have the rights to, don't just go pirate people's logos. I know it sounds weird, but there are companies that do care about who's representing their stuff, even though it's free advertising. But still, if you have the ability to, you'll be able to throw those on there. Mike will get that ordered and shipped to you. And then Carolina Waters prize pack with that one as well. So you'll get a hat and shirt of your choice. We'll link you up with our friends over there at Carolina Waters, and they'll get that sent out to you. So
that's right.
That is the last month's prize pack. So make sure you get in on that if you have not. And the last two things before Mike John, Skeet Reese finally won a BPT event. One of the more vocal people when the split happened as far as going over there and trying to get other people to go with him. He's been with BPT since the beginning. He's a Hall of Famer. He's getting inducted this year. Obviously has a great career fishing, and he won his first BPT event. So congratulations to Skeet. And then Taku won again, which is awesome. I love that guy. Just a good dude. I know him and Maddie are really close. So we got to see them celebrate on stage together because Maddie was super excited. So he went out there and had it. I mean, he put it together on the last day. I didn't think anybody was going to pull away like that.
That was the biggest
bag. Yep.
It was tied for Trey, but of course Trey
had zeros.
Yeah, he got DQ'd for his. So that was the biggest bag of the tournament.
Biggest bag of the tournament to close it out, and ended up winning in fairly convincing fashion in what I thought was going to be an ounces win. So congrats to him. Robert Gee ended up second. Rookie, heck of a guy. And then we talked about Trey. If you listen to our last episode, Trey made a little bit of a mistake, and we found out it got a little worse. When we knew about it at first, he was just late for weighing and had lost 9 pounds and dropped him into the 50s. We found out he made it in late only after he answered a phone call from a family member letting him know he was late, which is a violation of BSS rules. So his weight was disqualified for day 2. I think he ended up finishing like 97th. And probably ended his Angler of the Year shot. I think probably still Rookie of the Year's got a really good. He's got a lead. The lead definitely took a hit, and he could get caught, but he definitely still has a pretty solid lead in the.
I think. I mean, he's down by like 25 points now to Justin, and I think the second rookie's about 25 points below Trey. So I mean, at this point, technically 2 tournaments left. mathematically anything can happen. And we have to be careful because a couple years ago, we thought the guy had it locked up with 2 or 3 tournaments, and it came down that if he didn't make the cut on the final tournament, he wasn't going to get
that
the
was
English.
last year. Yep.
Yeah. So
So just my observation, I really liked the way that the ML, I know, and we give the MLF or the BPT some stink sometimes, but regardless, they went from the Cho on to the James, and that was really cool to see somebody get dialed in on a true title fishery like Skeet Reese. But no matter what, you still got Jacob Wheeler. He's in AOY right now for the BPT,
And that one is done.
and that one is. It's pretty darn solidified, right? He's pretty unstoppable when it comes to that consistency. But Justin Hamner is in the lead for AOY right now, and that is your 2024 Bassmaster Classic champion. So he might, with these two tournaments left, right? He could pull out something pretty special here.
We went the Classic and AOI in the
That's
same
right.
year.
he'd be the second person ever to do that, and I am drawing the blank because I don't remember who
It
the
was
first
probably
was.
Rick Clun.
No, it wasn't Rick. It was,
Was it Martin Roland?
Could have
No.
been.
It could've
No,
It was somebody that you wouldn't have thought of.
it could have been Roland.
We'll look it up as we're talking, but
Yeah.
that's something really cool. Hamner came onto the scene through college bass fishing and really stepped his game up and pulled out something special this year at was it Grand? Grand
Yeah.
is where the Classic was at. So he has a shot of making some history here this
and
year.
lastly,
Kevin Van Dam.
we should have known.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's a shocker.
oh darn!
Well,
How did I forget
I
that?
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because there have been a lot of greats that have won both, and not that KBD's not in the conversation, but he's won so much that
You kind of
so
forget.
is everybody.
You kind of forget he's won
But-
so much.
Last thing before we get in with Mike is I just want to shout out probably the classiest move I've ever seen in fishing from
Yeah.
Drew Gill,
Oh yeah.
sitting in second in AOI in the invitationals. If you don't know, the top 5 in the invitationals make the Bass Pro Tour next year. They do not go down. So if a BPT angler were to take one of the top 5 positions, that guy in 6th is going to lose out, even though he fished a heck of a year. So Drew Gill dropped out of the race. He could have won AOI. He was well within there, would have cashed a pretty good check in an AOI total. But he said, and he wasn't faulting the guy, but he said, I barely made it because of a BPT angler fishing all the events and finishing in that top portion. It's changed my life, and I don't want to do that to somebody else. I want them to have that opportunity. So he stepped away from something that is extremely hard to do to win at that level in AOI, be that consistent, while also fishing the BPT, winning one of those. So just kudos to him. I think that was a really cool gesture on his part to be selfless in a sense and throw away a check and probably some eyes for maybe some additional sponsors. But he felt the opportunity for a young guy or girl or new guy or girl was more important than him. So
Coming off a
Pretty cool.
victory at the Chowan River, man, riding a lot of momentum, and he decides to make one of the most humble decisions that you've seen in a long time. And there's a lot, and that's the thing is, like, there are so many positive news stories in the fishing industry, and we're going to talk about some of those today with our great friend Mike Johns.
Mike Johns, Army veteran, coffee maker, just good all around guy. Welcome to the OneCast finally, Mike. I know we've been talking about this since we started the show, really. We haven't
Honored.
started yet when we met him, right?
Nope.
No, we were just in the early stages of
Yep.
what we were going to do. So
Yep.
he's been bugging us relentlessly.
And he
to
had-
come on. So, no, I'm just kidding.
I was
He hasn't-
begging
he
every
hasn't-
day. Like I would send them messages every morning. Like, have me on, and they're like, "You got to pay more money." Like,
Patience.
He bought pizza tonight, so
That was what it took.
But you know what? He has been in the studio before because Mike, you traveled up here. What was it, about a month and a half or so ago?
yes,
Going up to fish
Potomac.
River. Yeah, that's another grueling place if you can't figure out a tidal fishery, right? So, dude, we're honored to have you here. And like Pete introduced you as an Army veteran and a coffee maker. Mike has had a many years of service to this country through different venues that will remain different venues. But hey, man, break it down for us and kind of how did you get into the fishing world before we jump into like the mission? Because I know that led you to the mission of opening FX3.
Yeah, it really all started when I lost my brother in 2014. I was just a contractor overseas and I'd come back home and found out my brother was killed in Basra, Iraq. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was lost. That was my my only outlet for what I needed, or didn't know I needed at the time. But if I was having a bad day, I could always call him. Vice versa, if he was having a bad day, he always knew he could reach out. But when I lost him, I lost that outlet. Yeah. And when I got a job with the federal government and got assigned to DC, I didn't have that outlet. And I started having some bad days. I'm missing my brother. And it was one day, and I go into it. And I probably won't go into this detail in this podcast, but I was ready to take my own life. I was done. I was ready to be a statistic because I felt like life was over as I know it. And I didn't have that outlet to reach out to. And I'll never forget being at the gas pumps in a small gas station in Virginia. And a guy come walking up to my Jeep and he said, "Are you okay?" That's all it took. That's all it took to save my life. And I started crying. I couldn't believe that some random stranger really gave a crap whether I was having a bad day or not.
In DC.
Yeah. And middle of nowhere, Stafford, Virginia, enough that he would avert his day or whatever he had going on to ask me if I was okay. Because I could see it on your face. I could see you're not having a good time. And I was like, yeah, just going through a really hard time dealing with losing my brother. And he says, "Man, do you like to fish?" And I was like, "How do you know?" like, "How well have you been spying on me, sir?" And I was like, I love to fish. I'd gotten out of it when I was in the military. And after getting out of the military, I didn't fish a whole lot. But I said, "Yeah, I'd love to go fishing." And he says, "Man, I got a boat." He says, "Hey, if you promise me to live one more day, let's go fishing tomorrow. And if you're convinced after a day of on the water, you still want to end your life, that's up to you. Give me one day." So I gave him one day. We went out on the water, had the best day of my life. Really didn't catch a whole lot of fish, but it didn't matter because he reminded me, and it reminded me there's always somebody there for you. And that's the mission I bring with FX3 is there's always someone here. You're never alone. If you follow any of my social media, you'll know that I spread that message repeatedly. You're not alone. I give up my personal phone number day and night of 912-270-3726. And you can call me literally at 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 in the evening. It doesn't matter. I'm going to answer the phone. Now, I get a lot of spam calls because I give this number out so much. So sometimes I might get short if I don't think you're real. But if I don't answer, you can text me 911 and I'll know immediately to call you right back. But that message there in itself reminded me that there's somebody always there. And I want to bring that to veterans. I'm tired of losing our brothers and sisters that have served and given so much for this country. What are we doing for them?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Trey can tell you he's in the military. Ben can tell you prior service. When we get out of the military, we're by ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't stay in touch with a lot of people we served with because we experienced something traumatic with them, and you don't want to relive that. So you develop a new friend circle.
That's right.
And you isolate yourself from people you may have served with, or that would remind you of that. So yeah. As being a stranger with FX3, it's easy to call me. You can confess whatever. You consider me a priest. And you can tell me whatever you've done, and it doesn't matter because I don't know. We don't have to relive it if you don't want to. But being on the water that day, I'll never forget coming home, and I just felt like the giant weight had been lifted off me. Now, yeah, granted, my brother's still gone. It didn't bring him back, but the weight had been lifted off to me because I remembered why we're here. Yeah. As veterans, and I love the message you guys spread about, helping anglers one cast at a time. I say the same thing about FX3 is we're saving lives one cast at a time.
There you go.
And so that's basically that. I didn't even know FX3 was going to begin. This is in 2014, 2019 before FX3 was born. I met you guys at what was 2021.
It was the first year after COVID. So
yeah, 2 years
22.
Ago.
Yeah.
Yep. 2 years so ago. 22. And I remember I hit it off with Ben and Trey, and then of course Pete walked over, and I just had to accept it. Yeah, I tried to mess it up.
Who is this guy?
I was really getting along with, Trey and Ben, and then Pete walks over, and I'm like, well, all right, guys, well, it's been fun, but
yeah, it was that dude that just left. He said and you guys can't see Mike and Pete right now because obviously this is audio version, but there's only room for one big guy with a beard. Right. I mean, you guys almost look like brothers. I'm not even going to throw. So
we're both wearing blue shirts today too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got you. So yeah, 2022, you walked over to the booth. We were all standing, hanging out. You saw the sign on OneCast Fishing's booth, right? Big sign up there that says veteran owned.
Yeah.
Right.
That was
And excuse, those are waters opening right now, but it's
they're liquid death.
but it's none of your business anyways.
Sponsored by Coca-Cola.
But yeah, I mean, like you saw that sign, saw veteran owned, right? OD green, a lot of military colors in the OneCast Fishing booth at the time. It's since changed. It's pretty awesome now too.
Still a lot of OD green though.
A lot of OD green, love it, right? Camouflage. But it brought you over, and we started striking those conversations. And Ben talked about that earlier with iCast. Look at the relationship it led to. Look at how we've developed and cultivated an environment where now, the OneCast is sharing the FX3 message. You're sharing the OneCast message, and that's really what it's all about. I'm gonna let you talk more, but when you were saved, right? Because that saved your life. How did that transpire into you like going all in on just fishing in general?
So, all right, we'll fast forward.
But we don't have to. We can walk at any step you want.
Well, I don't prefer the walk. I like running sometimes, but even though I'm a big guy,
You don't.
Actually, I'm gonna fall. But
25 years ago.
yeah, for real. But no, so yeah, that transpired to me getting transferred down to Florida. I get down to Florida and I find myself in the middle of Central Florida. I find myself an hour and 45 minutes from Okeechobee, an hour and a half from the Harris Chain of Lakes, 25 minutes from Kissimmee Chain at Toho, and I'm in the bass capital of the world.
Wait, is there bass there?
Oh, yeah. So I was like, I could really capitalize. And this hamster wheel in my brain, doesn't work well as it used to. But this hamster starts spinning. And I'm like, man, I live in a area that anglers dream of fishing these lakes. I was like, how could I incorporate where I live and the lakes where I live, taking guys out, get them on the water, experiencing what I experienced so long ago. And I'm sitting down. When I first started fishing in the BFL level, the YouTube used to allow you to do live streams.
Oh yeah.
And so I used to live stream. There's plenty of it on my YouTube. I would live stream my BFLs. I wasn't allowed to interact. That was the only stipulation. It was I could have it on all day, but if you commented during the broadcast, I couldn't comment back to you. I could read it or whatever, but I couldn't read it out loud. I could not converse with you whatsoever. And people started commenting about, some people just enjoyed watching and listening to us talk just on the water. And I had other veterans like, dude, that's so awesome. And I was like, man, what if there was a network of veterans taking guys out on the water and getting experiences? And one day I was broadcasting live on Okeechobee, and a random follower has since deleted his YouTube account, but he called me the flip-flop fisherman. That's where FX3 was originally born from.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I was the flip-flop fisherman, and I was like, I'm trying to figure out a way. I was like, man, it started catching on. People were like, my social media handle, people were starting to call me like F to the third power. And I'm like, how can I spin this for something to kind of put a hashtag on it, and let's get this, let's grow this culture of taking veterans out. So I'm sitting down with a buddy one night, and he goes, well, we're family. We're veterans. We're family. And he's like, whether we shed blood or we shed sweat together, it's forever. You're a veteran. You can't take that status away from someone. Once you've earned it, it's yours. So we dreamed up Fishing Family Forever. And then it was all downhill from there. Started the nonprofit in 2019. And from there on, I was just led to other veterans. I had my very first trip taking a veteran out was a double amputee, lost both his legs in Afghanistan. And he reminded me on the water that day. We're out in the water. Funny story is we're not catching a whole lot of fish. Now I got live shiners. He didn't want to artificial fish, didn't know a lot about bass fishing. So I take him out to a lake. I was very inexperienced all the time. And he's not catching a lot of fish. Well, we're just kind of cutting up back and forth. And finally he looks over, he said, hey man, you get me another shiner out of the bucket. And I'm like, what are you, handicapped? And the guy like falls over on his back and just starts laughing. And he says, "You're right, man." He's like, "You're the only guy since I've been injured that treated me as nothing's wrong." And he's like, "There's nothing is wrong." He's like, "Yeah, I'm missing my legs. You're right. I'm not handicapped." And he got his shiner out, catches a 4-pounder. And we had such a great day. We get back to the ramp that day. He's hugging me, telling me, I was like, "Oh man, it's awesome freaking day." And I was like, "Man, this is the right path." Then the next thing I know, I had a Navy veteran reach out. He wants to go fishing. We go out on the water. We had an outstanding day. And people started just like messaging me randomly, like, "Hey, Mike, I want to go fishing. Like, I heard you live near Lake Okeechobee. I live in Illinois. I want to go to Okeechobee. If I come down to Florida, can you take me to Okeechobee?" Next thing you know, my third trip booked was a guy from Illinois, drove all the way down from Illinois with his family, took his family to Disney. His wife said, "Hey, we'll go to Disney one more day. You go down to Okeechobee and go fishing." We went down to Okeechobee, had a good time. And from there, FX3 just kept growing. Then we just had, like, I would have random people just start reaching out. Every time I've ever doubted the mission of FX3, I was always reaffirmed with somebody else reaching out. And I'll never forget one night, and I know who it is now, but I get a text message one night. I was really down in the dumps. FX3 was really, it's hard to fund a nonprofit, especially a new nonprofit. And I'm not out to make money with FX3. If I can break even, I'm happy with that. If I can save a life and I lost some money, okay, whatever. But at the time, it was a financial strain on me. And I was debating on whether I was going to continue doing what I'm doing or maybe step away and try to gain sponsors and then continue on with the mission. I get a random text one night and says, "You don't know me. We've never been on a boat together, but watching you on social media saved my life. I heard your story. I told it, and I'd done a little brief reel on Facebook and just talked about how FX3 began. Said I watched your reels. I decided to live." And if that's not a reaffirmation of what I was doing was the correct thing to do, no matter what the cost, then I was like, man, well, now it doesn't matter, because it gave me a reaffirmation that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And FX3 has continued to grow. Then I met you guys, whether good or bad, but I met you guys in 2022, and we've continued to grow. We've continued to make a bond, and you don't know how much you guys have done for me. Like, recently lost my father, and that's been a huge blow to me. Sorry, getting emotional, but okay. A big blow to me emotionally. And having you guys reach out, like, immediately, I mean, Trey's like, boom, Pete reaches out, reminds me of why I do what I do, because there's always somebody there. And whether we forget it sometimes, and it's easy to forget. We get isolated in this world. But that's, sorry, I'm kind of went off on a tangent.
You're good.
But that's why we're here. That's why we're helping one angler, one cast at a time. That's why we're saving lives one cast at a time. And that's the mission of FX3, to remind everyone you're never alone. No matter what life throws at you, and I can't fix it. I can't fix your problems. Trey didn't fix my problems. My dad has still passed away. Pete didn't fix it. But they reminded me I don't have to go through it alone. And that's what I want to remind every veteran out there. No matter what life is throwing at you, no matter how big this storm seems, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do it by yourself.
That's right. Talk about the growth. So you obviously have connections with the veterans that fished with you. You have connections with veterans that haven't fished with you. You've connected. Not everybody wants to fish, but a lot of people need somebody to talk to. Has FX3 grown as far as like having other representatives take people fishing for FX3 in different states when you weren't able to, or is that part of your mission to grow that network?
It is part of my mission, and I've had several veterans such as Trey that have offered, like, hey, if you get somebody here, Pete's offered, you get somebody here, I want to help. So yes, FX3 has grown as far as volunteers. We're willing to take people out. And that's been amazing to me also, because at one point in time when I started FX3, I felt like I was just toting it all on my shoulders, and that weight gets pretty heavy sometimes.
Sure.
But so having that support, once again, reminding me I'm not alone.
Yep.
I'm not alone in the mission I want to do. You guys reminded me of that. You're willing to step up. I mean, heck, me and Ben spent some time on the water at Norman, and just that fellowship between two veterans on the water was phenomenal.
Yep.
And a lot of guys thank me for what I'm doing, But in the end, I'm being selfish because I should thank them, because being on the water with other veterans helps me a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say you're welcome for catching the big fish.
It's were you gonna ask a question?
no, I was just
Lighten the mood.
yeah, just
Talk
lighten the
smack.
mood a little bit. But you're absolutely right. The ability, it's a community within a community, because obviously the fishing community is so big. The veteran community is so big, but obviously much smaller subsets of both that they combine. So it's great to have the camaraderie, something in common. You know, it helps us distract us being on the water, you know, from whatever is happening in our careers and lives, etc. And it's just, I think for a lot of us, it's probably just a relief to get out there. And even if we're trying to be competitive and we want to catch fish and we want to win tournaments and all, but it's still kind of secondary to the sense of just being out in the water and relaxing.
And I'll bring it back to Norman. Think about this. And you talk about being on the water. I had a miserable day that day. I left my rain jacket in the truck.
And it rained.
No, not only this.
It was cold.
It was November cold rain.
Talking about the flip-flop fisherman, this is November, cold November rain. He's just got no shoes. He shows up in flip-flops. That morning, he's trying to find his rain gear. He doesn't have it, and he's wearing sweats, like cotton sweats out there in the rain, and it's 45 degrees.
Hey, you'll have that on the
You
picture.
such a bum.
You'll have that on the picture.
When I get soaking wet and I'd had enough, I'll tell you what, like Ben will never even know this even happened, but now I'm going to tell him. I just enjoyed sitting on the boat watching Ben chase fish on my live scope, trying to catch him with that stupid jerkbait. But as miserable as I was,
Caught one, though.
exactly,
Short fish.
miserable as I was, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, as miserable as that was, I was cold, I was wet. But watching him enjoy himself, when he caught that fish, he was so excited because he casted that same fish on the scope probably 30 times.
It was probably 20 times they kept biting out my worm off.
Yeah.
Just biting that little worm off down there in like 20 foot of water. And finally caught one. It's 11 and a half inches. I'm like, oh, man.
I think it's so
That's a lot of
cool.
work.
We you know, not only did iCast lead to us just meeting each other, but it led to you driving up to Lake Norman, fishing the annual Special Operations Bass Anglers Charity Tournament, which is always the day before Veterans Day. It's happening this year. You will come back up for it, right? That's an order. And but it led to that. It led to you know, now Pete is on the board of directors for Take a Warrior Fishing. There's tons of nonprofits, Heroes Harvest, which I volunteer for. There's tons of nonprofits out there. But I wanted to ask you this. What is it about fishing from your perspective? What is it about fishing that helps manage trauma?
I think the ability to forget everything, to concentrate on one stupid object, which is a little green fish or brown fish, really helps you deal with so much.
Yeah.
Because you can forget about what you might have experienced in wartime. You can forget about a brother or a sister you lost in a wartime and concentrate on catching this one stupid fish, especially now with live scope. You can look at them. They might not bite. And I know that's a horrible thing. Everybody thinks, oh, we got live scope. They just start jumping in the boat. I promise you right now, I got hours of footage. You can watch me cast a million times at them. And I just really suck then if that's the case. Or I need the update. I don't know, maybe there's an update.
you
Garmin had to
got to
release.
have that update.
I don't know if you know this, but last time you were up here, Pete turned your transducer upside down.
That makes sense.
That, or you just got to get the saltwater one.
Yeah.
Saltwater one special.
Yeah.
Because I was about to say, I thought bass maybe got some wings, but maybe that explains the airplanes going over. So bass really aren't that big in the water. So my transducer's upside down. But no, that's it. Being able to concentrate on something so small, and I say it seems small, but the accomplishment of bringing that fish to the boat when you see him or don't see him, even if you don't see, say you don't have live scope and you're just out on the water, putting a plan together and catching a fish on a bait and trying to figure out what the fish are doing allows you to mentally reset and think about something other than what is wrong with your life.
Yeah. And I think you know, military community is very niche. So all public service is, right? Paramedic, fireman, EMT, we all have a different worldview, a different way, dark humor, if you will.
Yes. Very dark.
Very dark humor. There's lots of inappropriate, not politically correct joking. It just kind of comes with
the territory,
right? And you don't get that. It really is just water, Mike.
Yeah, it's just,
I think he thought it was a beer, and then he cracked it. And I saw him take the first sip, and he was.
Yes, I've been looking this whole time. I'm like,
that's what Matt
this is
Robertson
the
drank at
weakest
class.
beer I've ever had in my life.
But yeah, so
I'm trying to maintain here.
So that, that community, you lose that when you leave, whether it be the military or some form of public service. But just being able to get out on the water. And Trey and I experienced this year. We took 2 folks out through a Heroes Harvest trip, 2 veterans. And I think we caught like 2 fish the entire day. 1 fish. We missed a few.
Missed a lot.
But we fished opposite sides of creek arms. And just the amount of smack talk and politically incorrect jokes. And I think it was when we got back to the dock, one of the guys was like, that's exactly, like, I don't even care that we caught a fish, because just being able to be around people that thought the same way was the release that I needed. And that, when you lose that, that's a big, not that it's a big part of your identity, but it's how we deal with trauma when we're doing those jobs, right? Like,
right. Yep.
You make jokes that probably shouldn't be made, because if you don't laugh, you will eat yourself alive.
That's right.
And when you get away from like-minded people and you can't make those jokes anymore, or you can't use that laughter outlet, which might not be the right way. There's probably some psychologists that listen and tell me I'm an idiot, whatever, it works for me. When you lose that, you lose that outlet. And Mike had lost that outlet. He lost his brother, found fishing. There's an outlet. Like he said, you can get on the water, and no matter how much stuff is going on in your life, whether it's past service related, whether it's financial trouble, whatever it is, you don't think about it for however long you're on the water. I've never once stressed about something non-fishing related while I was fishing.
That was a great way to kind of capture that. I think, they got a great movie on Netflix now. It's called Mend the Line.
You're going to cry. And if you have a heart,
and if you haven't had the opportunity to watch it, I think it's a great, it just kind of opens your eyes. Like, if you've never experienced it, we've all experienced it. But if you're one of our listeners that, is even thinking about it, like, and there are people that listen to fishing podcasts that really don't fish or whatever. I mean, probably few far in between, but there are. Or if you're a new veteran or a new somebody that came from the fire EMS world or law enforcement, and you're thinking about jumping into getting some outdoor therapy, I can tell you from watch that movie. I think it's a beautiful movie to kind of capture what we're talking about. But I've never seen anything other than the water make somebody so vulnerable and willing to talk about everything that's happened in their lives, from could be combat related trauma, could be catastrophic trauma witnessed here. It could be a divorce. It could be the loss of a child. Or it could be infidelity. It could be anything. Right. And I'll just share a quick vignette with you guys. The very first, trip that I took with a former Marine. He was 22, 24 year Chris Coran. He's a great dude, man. And I won't share any deets on his story, but he didn't catch a fish for 7 hours, but he and I didn't stop talking for 7 hours and shared those inappropriate, but appropriate stories, right? For the culture that we live in. We all have our cultures and our subcultures. And I just think the water and the outdoors in general really kind of fills that gap that a lot of people are missing when they're searching for that sense of purpose and sense of fulfillment. And those two things are so critical in a human being's life, no matter where you come from. If you don't feel like there's a purpose and you're not fulfilled in what you're doing, then you could become one of those statistics, right? And so it saved your life. It saved my life. It saved a lot of our lives, whether it could be physical life, emotional life, spiritual life. It doesn't matter. So I think it's really important, but I think it makes people just, for some odd reason, they connect with nature, and they connect either with the other person in the boat or by themselves somehow, and it just makes them feel whole again. you know, and that's kind of my opinion on what it does to a human being. That's what it's done for me, you know. So,
and I won't beat a dead horse, but you know, the day after I lost my dad, and a lot of people looked at me funny, but I hooked my boat up and I went to the water. I got out on the river and everybody's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just need a moment." Mm-hmm. I got out on the water. I made a couple casts. I missed a fish, which, funny story, is a spot that me and my dad used to fish a lot. My dad hates a buzzbait. Everybody that follows me knows. Trey will tell you, he'll test. I'll throw a buzzbait 24/7 if I can get away with it. But I miss a fish in his favorite spot. We like to fish on the river on a buzzbait. And I just started laughing, put my rod down. I was like, "All right, Dad, that's yours." And I just sit there, and it made me cry, but it made me laugh.
Yeah.
And I needed that. Like, I'm going through a trauma, and that just little spot on the water meant so much to me and giving me that reset.
Yeah.
And I want to give everybody that experience. You know, it's kind of like drug dealers. They want to, you know, hold on a minute. I'm not saying we're drug dealers, but what I'm saying is drug dealers.
Oh, wait, whoa.
Drug dealers want people to experience their product. They want people to get high and continue to get high. I want everyone to experience what I've experienced in my life. And Trey, I'm sure you do, Pete and Ben, that we get on this water and that mental reset that we can give you. Mm. And that's why I beg you, if you're going through a hard time, reach out.
That's right. Yeah, and there's a lot of resources out there. There's, you know, not one organization can cover the continental United States or the globe. I think statistics are there's over 22,000 nonprofit organizations. I could be completely wrong on that.
I have been as far as Idaho.
Yeah.
To take a veteran fishing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a haul, right? But yeah. I think that's something else important to capture too, is like, if you're somebody that, you know, we've had a lot of people reach out to us over our socials and be like, "Hey, how can I take a veteran fishing?" You can just take them fishing.
Yep.
There's no permission needed to take somebody fishing. When you start talking about the administrative part of it and you want to like do tax write-offs and stuff, well, I get it. But maybe you're not doing it for the right reason.
And if it's not about tax write-offs, and I know Mike's working on his infrastructure, he can't be everywhere. But if you are somebody that wants to take a veteran fishing, holler at me. That is what Take a Warrior Fishing does. We'll connect you with warriors that are looking to fish and get you on the water with them. Mike's working towards having those resources in other states. Everybody can work together and do that, right?
That's correct.
It's about taking that 22 to 21 tomorrow, and then 20 the next day, and then 19, and eventually getting to 0. And that's what everybody's goal is.
Oh, and I want to bring up something real quick about numbers. And I think I text you all because like I was so excited about this number this year. So New Year's every year is a big year. Everybody knows, everybody's drinking and partying. Did you know New Year's weekend, the first time in almost 17 years, a veteran suicide wasn't reported? I would like to think that just what we're doing and what we're having and what we're sharing, I'm not saying FX3 was the huge part of that, but as a community, all of us spreading that message and getting people out on the water and this community that we're developing, I think played a huge part. 15, 17 years of veterans committing suicide every New Year's. We won a weekend.
Right.
Yep.
That's it. And you have to take those small victories. I mean, the thing is there are so many veterans out there that think there's nowhere to turn to, and there's always somewhere to turn to. I think it's opening that door, having those conversations. That's the first order of business, is having the conversation, right? Because now Mike knows us in North Carolina. We know Mike in Georgia, Florida, but we also know people all up the East Coast and out in the West Coast. And that's what I wanted to talk. I kind of wanted to dive into this next. You've been fishing competitively, right? So outside of FX3, which I would assess as your main mission, but tournament fishing is a great platform to spread the message of FX3. Fishing the Major League Fishing, Phoenix Bass Fishing League, the Toyota Series. You fished a season on the National Professional Fishing League. You're fishing the Toyota Series again this year. How has the competitive fishing world helped you push that message for FX3?
Oh, I can say that the travel, because as we travel in the Toyota Series, I'll do social media posts sometimes, and I'll have people like, I had a guy in Ohio on the way back from the Potomac. It didn't work out for us to link up on the way back, but he wanted to go fishing. And it might have been a little bit out of the way, but I was already traveling. So I'm like, when I went to Pickwick, I was able to stop on the way up in North Georgia. I told you about that. We went up there on Lanier, took a guy out fishing. I would not have had that opportunity had I not been traveling competitively to fish. So, yeah, I'd say that Major League Fishing and even the MPFL, they've afforded me the ability traveling from these different tournaments and traveling through states that I'm able to post on social media. I'm like, hey, here's my route. I don't care. I mean, I'm coming through. If you see that I'm getting even close to you, or in the sense of when I drove to Idaho that time, it didn't even matter if I was close or not. If you reach out to me, I'll do everything in my power to get somebody or myself, and we'll get out on the water. And I will say this in advance. You do take a big 21-foot Ranger like mine to Idaho, there's not a lot of places you can put it in.
I mean, I didn't even know you could catch bass in Idaho. But I guess
there's some big bags.
Yes.
Lake Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, never heard of it. But Brandon Polinick's from Idaho, isn't he?
There's some big bags out of there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. So during any of your official practices, I just wondered, with your official practice with Toyota Series or MPFL, was there ever a time where you took a veteran during your practice day? Was that allowed?
So Major League Fishing, the way they read is if it's not an immediate family member, you have to notify a tournament director. And yes, I have taken people out and practiced. I notify the tournament director, and they've never had a problem. Once I tell them what I'm doing, I'm like, hey, I'm running a nonprofit for suicide awareness. I got a guy who wants to go fishing. And if I would have ever been told no, I've always come up with a contingency plan to go to another lake that's not on the same water, so I'm not violating a rule. But I will say this, Major League Fishing, that's 100% every time I've ever asked. They've stood behind that and said, oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah. I think that's a huge testament. You know, there's a lot of negativity in the fishing world. I think we forget really easily that it's a lot bigger than just competitive fishing. But that is a huge testament to MLF. And I don't know if the MPFL did it, but if you are a tournament organization out there and you get that call from a guy like Mike Johns or any other person that's trying to save a life, and you obviously allow that, like, that speaks a lot about your organization. Absolutely. I think that's a lot of character, right? And
I'll add, you know, the opportunity never presented itself when I fished the MPFL, but I know the guys over the MPFL. If that would have been the case, and a guy wanted to go out fishing, I'm sure there's not a doubt in my mind they'd have been like, "Oh yeah, of course, Mike."
Yeah,
you know. So,
you guys got any more? I got another question.
There's a shocker.
So, this will be like the last major question for you. As a competitive tournament angler, but still running the FX3 mission, has competitive tournament angling ever gotten in the way and made you forget about things have you ever got so spun out and so wrapped around the competition side that you've forgotten about, like, it's not that big of a deal?
Actually, no, the exact opposite, because I've gotten spun out in a tournament and I picked up my phone and then realized, oh, I can't make a phone call right now. I can't phone a friend. But after the tournament, I have immediately called somebody for support. And it's actually reiterated what I spread with FX3. There's always somebody to listen. Mm-hmm. And I've called you. I've had a bad tournament immediately after I put on the trailer. I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
But it reiterates what I'm talking about with FX3. There's always somebody to listen. So, no, competitive fishing has never gotten in the way. And I promised myself from day one, yes, I want to be a pro angler. I would love to be the next Kevin Van Dam. But if it came to it between saving a life and being a pro angler, I will save a life every time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the reason I asked that is, you know, we want to spread positivity and awareness, education, information. You talked about our motto, you know, building a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time. That could be through fishing education. That could be through informing them that there's a network to reach out to. It doesn't matter. I tend to see a lot of people get very short-sighted when it comes to the competitive fishing side. I think they think that's the only thing in the world that matters, and maybe it is to them, right? But it's not. It's not the only thing that matters. Of course, you get down on yourself when your performance sucks, or you get high when you've had riding that momentum, whatever the case may be. But I think it's a great message for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a veteran or not. I think it's an important message to say, listen, like, it's going to be okay. That tournament definitely is not going to end your life, right? And it's bigger than that. So I appreciate you breaking that down for us, man. I'll turn it over to these guys because I know I run my mouth a lot.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed all the questions that I had.
I ask mine as I go along. I don't keep them back to the end.
Trey's always got them locked and loaded, but like he always has the same questions I have. So I just sit here sucking my thumb most of the time.
So by the time this airs, he doesn't suck his thumb. By the time this airs, you are going to be on the water up at Lake Champlain. This is your, fifth stop for the Toyota Series this year?
So this is the northern. It'll be the second northern stop.
Right. First one was Potomac.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about that.
We don't need to talk about the Potomac.
It's
the back. Well, that's one of the times I had to call somebody after a tournament. But no, Champlain's going to be good.
Lake Champlain. So looking forward to that. It's a body of water you've never been on before, right?
Correct.
All right. So you're here to dial in some techniques maybe for a couple hours tomorrow. What are you most looking forward to for that Lake Champlain tournament?
Actually, I love largemouth fishing so much. So I always bastardize that name, but was it Ticonderoga?
Taquito?
Ticonderoga?
Ticonderoga.
Ticonderoga. Yeah.
I was going to let him struggle for another minute.
Yeah, I know.
He was like, Ticonderoga? You're like, Taquito?
I was wanting to buy vowels or something, but yeah, so I mapped that out. It's 59 miles one way from launch, and I want to go down there and catch largemouth, but I'm actually looking forward to trying to catch some smallmouth. I think my biggest smallmouth I caught on Lake Huron a couple years ago on the MPFL was a 5-pounder. Caught it on a buzzbait.
Smallmouth on a buzzbait.
If anybody can do it, it's going to be you.
It would be Mike.
So you're looking for you're going to make that run, right? You're going to make that run down to
I'm at least going to go practice down there.
Yeah.
At Ticonderoga.
Okay. Yeah,
Ticonderoga. Got it. He's not going to run out of fuel like Greco just did, though, making that run.
Sorry, buddy. I told everybody.
Sorry, bud. We know.
Hey, come on.
We know, bud.
It's not only Greco. Mike Corbisley did it on his home pond. So
that's true. With a winning bag,
like 876 pounds for 5. No, I'm just kidding. Last thing, man, you're gonna do something special. I know, and you're on an emotional roller coaster right now, but
this is all true. I was trying not to bring it up.
Talk about the last thing I want you to talk about is what special technique and tool are you going to use to try to catch smallmouth up there?
So I'm actually excited. So my dad was a huge pan fisher, and his favorite reel and rod combos is Zebco 33. Now I had to upgrade the rod because nothing against you, Zebco, but I had to put it on a bait cast rod. But I have a Zebco 33 rigged up with a drop shot. We're going to go try it on Sharon Harris tomorrow. Now you'll probably see footage of tomorrow, whether it's good or bad, of me trying this out. But if I can make that work, I will be on Lake Champlain with a spin cast, push button reel, however you want to look at it, throwing a drop shot, because I figured out if I put 8-pound, and I told you, Trey, originally it was 10-pound braid with 8-pound leader. I found out it holds more line. It took me like 20 different tries, 8-pound fluorocarbon straight, and I can get 90 yards of line on there without having any issues. So I will have 8-pound straight fluorocarbon.
I know we are all looking forward to seeing how that shakes out. And it'd be a really special moment for you to catch, like at least a keeper fish, right? To weigh in on your dad's reel and stuff. So, man, we appreciate you coming here and breaking down the mission set for FX3 and your experiences, how it's changed your life, how fishing has opened that aperture for so many avenues, networks such as these and a whole lot more. Give you an opportunity right now. You always talk about it. You put your phone number out there earlier, but just recap on where people can find you on social media, how they can reach out to you.
Sure thing. On Instagram, it's at FX3 Inc. Twitter, it's same at FX3 Inc. You can also find me at MJ Fishing on Twitter. On Facebook, it's at FX3 Inc. Or you can find Mike Johns or Michael Johns. Sorry, I'm not savvy with technology, so I do have like 3 Facebooks, but they all link back to FX3. I didn't know what I was doing, and I ended up creating a Mike Johns, a Michael Johns, but they're all me. You'll see 22 a day, or you'll see an FX3 logo, let you know it's legit. Or you got my phone number at 912-270-3726. Also got my website at www.fx3inc.org. And of course, you guys, the OneCast, you
Absolutely.
can look it up and you always see my logo or my website. So I appreciate it. I'm super honored to sit down with you guys once again. We'll always have a blast every time I'm around, especially around you guys. So
we appreciate the nicknames that you've assigned to all of us. So from the bum, do you guys got anything before I close this out?
4/5 is good.
LT, you good? All right, this is the bum. I'm going to go ahead and sign us out here, Michael Johns. It was an honor having you here. Glad you got to hang out with us and continue growing a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.